You've got a misunderstanding of Ohtani. It started with a home run. It always starts with a home run. But this time, what followed the home run was not celebration. It was not applause echoing through the stadium. It was not the kind of moment that gets replayed on highlight reels with a smile. What followed Shohei Ohtani's 30th home run of the season was something that no one in that stadium had ever seen before. Something that made the crowd go completely silent. Something that made even the most experienced baseball reporters stop typing and just stare. An umpire walked toward Ohtani. And he didn't walk toward him to congratulate him. The game had been tight from the beginning. The kind of game where every pitch carries weight. Every swing carries meaning. The stadium was already buzzing with an electricity that only comes when Shohei Ohtani is in the batter's box and the count is full and the entire baseball world is holding its breath together. Then it happened. The pitch came in. Ohtani read it. His hips rotated. His hands came through. And the sound that followed was not just a crack of the bat. It was the kind of sound that shakes something loose inside you. Deep. Clean. Final. The ball climbed. And climbed. And then it was gone. Number 30. For a moment, everything in that stadium existed only to celebrate that number. 30 home runs. A milestone that most players spend entire careers chasing. A number that in any other season, in any other story, would have been the only thing anyone talked about for days. But this night had other plans. Before Ohtani had even completed his home run trot, before he had touched home plate, before his teammates had fully risen from the dugout, one of the umpires was already moving. Not toward the celebration. Not away from it. Directly toward Ohtani. He stopped him near the plate. He reached for the glove. He pulled at the sleeve. Then came the demand for a bat change. The stadium didn't explode in anger immediately. It took a few seconds. The kind of seconds where people look at each other to confirm that what they just saw was real. That it wasn't a misunderstanding. That an umpire had just inspected Shohei Ohtani, in the middle of a home run celebration, as if he were a suspect rather than a superstar who had just hit his 30th home run of the season. Those few seconds passed. And then the stadium erupted. Dave Roberts was out of the dugout before most people had processed what was happening. His walk was not the casual stroll of a manager making a pitching change. It was purposeful. It was firm. It was the walk of a man who had seen something he could not let stand without a response. He reached the umpire. He didn't shout immediately. Those who were close enough said his first words were quiet. Almost controlled. Like a man trying very hard to give the situation one final chance to resolve itself peacefully. That chance passed quickly. Robert's voice rose. His hands moved. And the words that came out of his mouth became the sentence that every broadcaster, every reporter, every baseball fan heard within minutes of the moment it was spoken. You've got a misunderstanding of Ohtani. Not a defense of the home run. Not an argument about the rules. Not a technical disagreement about bat specifications or equipment regulations. A direct statement about something far more fundamental. That the umpire standing in front of him had looked at Shohei Ohtani and seen something that wasn't there. Roberts was not finished. He pointed. He stepped closer. He made sure every word landed where he intended it to land. The umpire stood firm. The argument stretched on longer than most on-field confrontations do. Long enough for the television cameras to zoom in. Long enough for the lip readers on social media to get to work. Long enough for everyone watching to understand that what was happening was not a routine disagreement about a close call at second base. This was something different. This was personal. The inspection itself lasted less than 2 minutes. But in those 2 minutes, everything about the night shifted. The story of Ohtani's 30th home run, a milestone that deserved its own chapter, was suddenly sharing space with a controversy that nobody had anticipated and nobody quite knew how to explain. The bat was examined. The glove was checked. The sleeve was inspected. Nothing was found. No foreign substance. No illegal modification. Nothing that justified what had just happened in front of 40,000 people and millions more watching at home. Nothing. And that was precisely what made it so difficult to accept. If something had been found, the story would have been complicated but clear. Rules exist. Violations carry consequences. Baseball has seen that story before. But when nothing is found, when the inspection that humiliated a player in the middle of a milestone moment produces absolutely zero evidence of wrongdoing, a different and far more uncomfortable question rises to the surface. Why did it happen at all? The official ruling came quickly. Too quickly for some. Too slowly for others. The league announced that the incident was under review. That the umpire's decision to conduct the inspection would be examined. That the circumstances surrounding the demand for a bat change would be looked at carefully. The word investigation appeared in the statement. That word alone changed everything. Because an investigation means that somewhere, in an office that most fans never think about, people with authority are sitting down and asking the same question that 40,000 people in that stadium were already asking out loud. What exactly did that umpire think he saw? By the time the press conference room filled up, the atmosphere had already shifted several times. Outside the stadium, on social media, in baseball circles that never sleep, the reaction had already gone past outrage and arrived somewhere harder and darker. Threats were being directed at the umpire. Not just criticism. Not just anger. Threats serious enough that security and league officials were already being made aware of the situation before Roberts had even sat down in front of the microphone. Roberts walked in carrying the weight of a man who had just managed a game that ended in a place no one expected. He sat down. He didn't smile. He didn't try to lighten the mood. A reporter asked him to describe what he saw on the field. Roberts nodded slowly. He looked at the table for a moment. Then he looked up. His voice was steady. But underneath the steadiness was something that hadn't fully cooled down yet. He said he saw his player hit his 30th home run. He said he saw something that should have been one of the great moments of the season. And then he said what he saw happen next. His expression didn't change much when he said it. But his jaw tightened slightly. And that small tightening said everything his words were choosing not to say directly. A reporter followed up. Asked about the specific words he had used on the field. Asked about the sentence that was already being replayed on every sports channel in the country. Roberts didn't repeat it exactly. He didn't need to. Everyone in the room already knew it. He said only that he meant what he said. That there was a misunderstanding. And that the misunderstanding was not small. It was not a technicality. It was not a gray area that reasonable people could disagree about. It was fundamental. Ohtani spoke quietly in the post-game area near the clubhouse. His voice carried none of the anger that Roberts had shown on the field. His expression was not the expression of a man who had just been publicly humiliated in the middle of a milestone moment. But his eyes told a different story. He said he understood that umpires have a job to do. He said he respected the rules of the game. He said these things the way a person says things they genuinely believe but that are being tested in real time by something they did not expect. Then a reporter asked him what it felt like. Standing at home plate, having just hit number 30, and having that moment interrupted. Ohtani paused. The pause lasted longer than his pauses usually do. He said only that he wanted to focus on the next game. That the team needed him focused. That the moment would pass. He didn't say it felt unfair. He didn't have to. The threats directed at the umpire were condemned quickly and unanimously. The league issued a statement. Players issued statements. Even those most outraged by the inspection made clear that threats had no place in the conversation. That no call, no controversy, no moment on a baseball field justified what was now filling the umpire's notifications and reportedly his voicemail as well. But the condemnation of the threats didn't erase the underlying question. It just placed it in a more complicated frame. Because now the story had two uncomfortable layers. An umpire who conducted an inspection that produced nothing and has now been placed under official review. And a wave of public anger so intense that it crossed the line from outrage into something that required security intervention. Both things existed at once. And neither one made the other disappear. Late that night, after the cameras were gone and the press conference chairs were empty, the story continued moving through the world at a speed that baseball controversies rarely reach. The clip of the inspection played millions of times. The clip of Roberts on the field played alongside it. Analysts broke it down frame by frame. Former umpires offered opinions. Former players offered opinions. People who had never watched a full baseball game offered opinions. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, the actual image of Shohei Ohtani hitting his 30th home run kept replaying. The swing. The sound. The ball climbing out of the stadium. The number 30. That moment still existed. It had not been taken away. But it had been changed. Colored by something that came immediately after it. Something that no one planned for and no one fully understood yet. The investigation was ongoing. The umpire was under review. The threats were being monitored. And Shohei Ohtani was already preparing for the next game. Because that is what he does. That is the only answer he has ever known how to give when the world around him becomes too loud and too complicated and too unfair to fully process in a single night. He prepares. He shows up. He swings. And somewhere in that simplicity is the reason why what happened after home run number 30 felt so deeply wrong to so many people watching. Because he deserved better than that. And everyone in that stadium knew it.